Pirate endured months at sea without ever developing scurvy, while whole naval fleets suffered from malnutrition. What's their secret? A list of 15 foods that never spoil and kept sailors well for years. What unique preservation techniques did they uncover that we've lost touch with? They began with something that could break a tooth long before it ever cracked on the beach. Hardtack was essentially edible stone, the sort of thing pirates kept for sustenance. Crafted from flour, water, and sometimes salt, these biscuits were baked until they were as hard as the timbers of a ship. Pirates likely used leftover hardtack as makeshift cannonballs once they ran out of ammunition. The baking process had drained all the moisture out. Bakers would rebake these crackers several times, transforming plain dough into something sturdy enough to endure long journeys at sea and still be edible. Crackers so dry they made sand look moist. They were kept in wooden barrels, packed tightly to prevent rats and moisture from getting in. When stored correctly, hardtack could last for decades. Your great-great-grandfather might have eaten the same hardtack you discover in a barrel today. Eating hardtack took some planning. Clever pirates would soak it in water, coffee, or rum before trying to chew. Without soaking, biting into hardtack was like gnawing on rocks. The crackers were so hard that they probably built up pirates' jaw muscles more than any workout. Sometimes weevils would burrow into the grain. Did pirates toss out hardtack covered in bugs? Never. They'd just squash the bugs and keep munching. Extra protein was still extra protein, even if it had legs, and protein was just as vital as those sturdy crackers. Salted beef transformed fresh meat into a durable treasure that could outlive even the longest pirate voyages. The preservation process layered the beef and salt, producing meat that could defy spoilage. Salt acted like a water vampire, draining every bit of moisture from the meat. Null, roll, assistant. It wasn't just a touch of salt. We're talking about meat submerged in water so salty it made the ocean seem fresh by comparison. This method kept the beef good for months, sometimes even over a year. Before cooking, pirates would soak the meat to rinse off the extra salt. Eating unsalted preserved beef would make you thirsty enough to drink an entire link. One bite could turn your mouth into a desert that made actual deserts feel sorry for you. This salted meat provided the main protein. Salted beef delivered the protein needed for those demanding tasks. While beef provided protein on ships, there was lighter protein floating in the ocean. Dried fish looked like leather that used to swim. Cod and other sturdy fish basked in the blazing sun until they transformed into something resembling chisels. The drying took place right on the deck, with pirates spreading the fish out under the intense sunlight, allowing the heat and salty air to draw out every drop of moisture. The fish became so dehydrated that they likely forgot what water was. Each day, they shrank and stiffened until they turned into portable protein. Their light weight was a major benefit. Dried fish weighed barely anything compared to fresh ones, allowing ships to transport vast amounts of protein without losing speed. Every bit counted when you were trying to slip past the Navy or catch up to merchant vessels. But here's the thing: eating dried fish wasn't straightforward, it needed some planning. You couldn't simply bite into it like fresh catch. Attempting to chew dried fish without water was like biting into a boot, technically doable, but not exactly enjoyable. Pirates would soak or boil it until it finally remembered how to be edible. The fish worked perfectly in stews with other preserved foods, mixed with beans or hardtack. Dried fish created filling meals that kept crew satisfied. Eating all this preservation possible was one crucial ingredient. Salt was the ultimate hero of food preservation, battling bacteria rather than villains. This white crystal transformed spoiled food into safe fare or deadly poison. No matter what preservation trick pirates employed, it all boiled down to salt in the end. Salt worked harder than a one-leg pirate climbing rigging, pulling moisture out of everything it touched. Without water, bacteria couldn't survive, which meant food stayed safe instead of turning deadly. Pirates stored salt in huge barrels and cloth sacks. At certain ports, salt served as currency. You could exchange it for ship repairs, clean water, or secrets about treasure spots. For some pirates, salt was as valuable as gold, though it also meant survival. Its applications went well beyond just seasoning food. Salt cleaned wounds, even though it stung worse than a jellyfish attack. Pirates used it to treat leather, keeping boots and belts from rotting in humid sear. Salt never went bad when kept dry. A barrel purchased in port might last for years, keeping hundreds of pounds of meat and fish good throughout. The cost was justified each time spoiled food was avoided and the crew stayed healthy. While salt was used to preserve many foods, some grains hardly needed any help to stay fresh. Oats were the dependable team members, never problematic and always doing their part. These grains didn't require any fancy preservation or special care. If we keep them dry, they'll last for years. Their natural resistance to spoilage made oats ideal for long journeys. Unlike other grains that went bad quickly during rough patches, oats were the reliable choice that could withstand whatever the sea tossed their way. Keep them in sacks or barrels, shielded from moisture, and they'd stay fresh longer than most buns. Using oats in cooking was simple. Pirates prepared porridge by boiling oats in water, occasionally adding salt or honey if available. It also produced flat oat cakes that served as both meals and emergency rations. Staying energized was important when your work involved climbing ropes and fighting battles. Oats offered a reliable source of energy that kept going for hours. A pirate fueled by oats had more stamina than a ship's cat hunting rats. The complex carbs provided steady energy, avoiding sudden crashes. On long voyages, rationing became a necessity. Smart captains carefully measured how much each crew member needed each day, then tacked on extra for delays. Still, protein that could last just as long was just as vital. Dried beans, rich in nutrients, came in small packages that could sit forever until it was time to feed hungry pirates. These tiny powerhouses packed more protein and fiber than you'd expect in such small shells. The preservation method was wonderfully straightforward, just remove the water and seal them tight. Beans were so adept at staying fresh, they could probably outlive the ships that brought them. Pirates kept in airtight containers stayed edible forever. Preparing them took time, the beans needed hours of soaking to rehydrate, then boiling until tender. Unlike some foods pirates could just grab and eat, these required patience, but their bulk and protein made the effort worthwhile for hearty, satisfying meals. Nutrition made beans incredibly valuable. High protein helped maintain muscle during demanding shipwork. The fiber kept digestive systems working properly. Important when you're stuck on a floating wooden box, beans gave pirates enough energy to work like caffeinated monkeys. The storage efficiency was incredible. Dried beans compressed into a tiny space, offering great food value. Just a small barrel of them could supply protein for weeks, whereas filling the same space with other foods might only last a few days. To bring a touch of sweetness to these straightforward dishes, something special was needed. Honey was like liquid sunshine, never going bad no matter how long it sat. Its golden sweetness had staying power that made other foods feel envious. The science behind it was pretty impressive, even if pirates didn't get it. The low moisture and high sugar content made it a place where bacteria just couldn't survive. Honey was basically a sweet desert for germs. Ancient honey found in tombs was still perfectly good thousands of years later. Pirates treated honey like liquid treasure because it practically was. They used it to sweeten bland preserved foods, turning boring oat mush into something almost dessert-like. A spoonful of honey could make a tough tank taste less like chewing on wood chips. It was also widely used as medicine. Honey helped heal wounds by forming a barrier that fought infection. In a world where even small cuts could turn deadly, honey was real medicine in disguise as a treat. Storing it couldn't be simpler, just keep it sealed and dry. Honey sat untouched in jars for years without any fuss. It was the perfect low-maintenance liquid food, boosting morale more than anything else that came next. Rum was happiness in liquid form that never went bad and always improved any situation, at least from a pirate's viewpoint. This golden liquid had more staying power than a grudge against the Navy. Pure alcohol naturally resisted spoiling because bacteria couldn't thrive in high alcohol conditions. The distillation process removed water and concentrated the alcohol, producing a liquid that would stay preserved indefinitely if kept properly sealed. The Caribbean islands naturally became the go-to place for rum. Sugar plantations created molasses, which distilleries then converted into rum. Pirates had much easier access to rum than many people had to fresh water. Local production kept prices lower and ensured steady supplies at ports. Its uses extended beyond just drinking. Most preserved fruits and rum turned into treats that lasted longer than fresh fruit. Additionally, rum was used to clean tools and medical instruments. Grog was just rum diluted with water, extending the alcohol supply while still giving pirates the lift they craved. A splash of rum in their water turned even the dullest day into a celebration. Wise captains knew how to use rum as a way to motivate their crews. Extra rations for successful raids reduced amounts for troublemakers. While rum lifted spirits, other foods lifted health in different ways. Dried fruit was nature's candy that also happened to fight deadly diseases. These wrinkled nuggets packed vitamins that could save lives during long ocean voyages. Raisins, dried apricots, dates, and plums went through the same water removal process as other preserved foods. The sun put in extra hours on these fruits, intensifying their sweetness until they turned into chewy packs of vitamins. Their high vitamin content, especially vitamin C, made dried fruit an essential defense against scurvy. This illness made teeth fall out and opened up wounds again, leaving pirates pretty miserable. Without enough vitamins, pirates seemed to be battling their own bodies and losing. Storage needed to be in sealed containers or cloth bags to prevent moisture from creeping back in. Pirates stored dried fruit meticulously to avoid crushing, which could spoil whole batches. Their adaptability made dried fruit useful for more than just snacking. They added it to oat porridge for extra sweetness and nutrients. Dried fruit turned dull ship rations into something that didn't make you second-guess your life choices. The natural sugars gave a quick boost of energy when the work was tough. Climbing, rigging, and fighting needed fast energy, and fruit sugars supplied it straight away. Even after finishing the fruit, clever pirates kept every piece. The citrus peels showed that pirates threw away nothing, not even the parts most people toss overboard. Those orange and lemon skins were like stubborn, vitamin-rich leftovers that simply wouldn't give up. After enjoying fresh citrus, clever pirates didn't throw away the peels, they dried them to ward off scurvy. The rinds held packed vitamin C and oils that remained potent even when dried. And drying was easy enough to do. Lay the peels out in the sun until they turned crispy and airy. The Caribbean sun was so great at drying citrus peels, it could probably dehydrate even a pirate's sense of humor. Mostly, these dried peels were used to make teas and medicinal beverages. Null, roll, assistant. Chewing citrus peels made pirates pucker more than kissing a sea urchin. Creative pirates candied peels by soaking them in honey before drying. This created treats that satisfied sweet cravings while providing nutrition. For preservation via acidity, there was another liquid that worked wonders. Vinegar was like a toolbox in liquid shape, storing food, cleaning surfaces, and even healing cuts, never spoiling or losing its power. This sour liquid was more dependable than a pirate's promise to share treasure fairly. Production was elegantly simple. Ferment alcohol naturally turned into vinegar through bacterial action, creating liquid with acidity that hostile organisms couldn't tolerate. Vintegrists relied on vinegar for a wide variety of purposes. They used it to clean wounds, trusting the burning signified it was effective. Though vinegar stung more than a scolding from a disappointed parrot, it kept dangerous infections at bay. Food preservation was thorough. Pirates pickled vegetables, eggs, and certain meats in vinegar. The acid kept things from spoiling and gave plain preserved foods a tangy kick. Plus, vinegar's cleaning abilities made it useful for maintaining ships. It dissolved salt crusts on metal tools, stopping rust from forming. Pirates used vinegar to scrub barrels, pots, and eating utensils. Adding vinegar to dried, salted foods enhanced their flavor, making meals more tasty. A splash might turn hardtack into something that tastes like real food instead of just wood shavings. Speaking of foods that are pre-preserved in acid, pickled eggs start out as ordinary eggs that soak in an acidic solution and come out totally changed. These protein spheres spent so long soaking in vinegar that they ended up with a tangy attitude. It all began in port, where pirates could grab fresh eggs from chickens. They'd hard-boil dozens and then immerse them in vinegar or brine inside glass jars. The acid created an environment where bacteria couldn't survive, preserving eggs for months. Pirates often added spices to their pickling solutions. Bay leaves, peppercorns, garlic, and salt created complex flavors that made pickled eggs enjoyable rather than just necessary. Pickled eggs were especially useful on long journeys because of their high protein content. When fresh eggs weren't available, they offered a reliable source of complete protein to help keep muscles strong and energy levels up. Storing eggs meant keeping them fully submerged in their acidic bath, or they'd spoil faster than a pirate's good name in a port town. Convenience was key. Unlike dried foods that needed soaking and cooking, pickled eggs were ready to eat straight away. For enduring richness that only grew deeper with age. Aged cheese is like wine's sibling who took a different route but turned out just as precious. Instead of spoiling, it got better over time, almost like magic in dairy form. Hard cheeses such as aged cheddar naturally fend off spoilage thanks to their aging process. Their low moisture content, high salt levels, and the presence of beneficial bacteria create conditions that prevent harmful microbes from thriving. Storage methods were vital. Eggs, wrapped hard cheese, and cloth soaked in oil or coated with wax kept mold at bay. They guarded the cheese more diligently than some people protect their own mothers. Moisture control was more important than temperature. Aged cheese tolerated temperature swings better than fresh dairy, making it ideal for ships where weather caused conditions to change frequently. The nutritional advantages were also notable. Old cheese offered calcium to keep bones sturdy, fat for powering up, and protein to help muscles stay strong. Consuming aged cheese meant better bones for climbing rigging and more energy for swordplay. The flavor actually got better with age. The process focused the tastes and added depth, making even dull preserved foods more interesting. For enhancing richness across the board, olive oil was like liquid gold, truly deserving of the nickname. It went on endlessly and improved every flavor. This Mediterranean gem was silkier than a pirate's smile and endured longer than most marriages. Its stability stemmed from its natural makeup. Dark, sealed containers kept olive oil safe from heat and light, allowing it to stay fresh for many years. Unlike other fats that spoil fast, olive oil has natural antioxidants that help prevent it from going bad. Cooking possibilities seemed limitless. Pirates fried, dried fish, prepared any fresh vegetables available at the port, and enhanced bland preserved foods with flavor. A drizzle of olive oil could make tough-tasting food nearly palatable instead of just rock-hard. Another key use was for preserving food. Pirates would spread oil over cheese, herbs, or other edibles to form a barrier against air and bacteria. Outside of food, these applications increased the value of olive oil even further. Pirates used it as lamp oil and waterproof leather items, preventing boots and gear from rotting. Mediterranean trade routes ensured a reliable supply at ports where pirates could resupply. But even the best oil couldn't match the potential packed into tiny shells. Seeds were tiny survival packages that contained entire futures in shells smaller than fingernails. These little capsules held more potential than treasure maps and lasted longer than most pirate careers. Flaxseeds, sunflower seeds, and whole grains lasted forever in airtight, dry containers. Layers of protective shells kept their nourishing cores fresh for years on end. Their adaptability even amazed practical pirates. Seeds could be eaten raw for instant nourishment, ground into flour to make bread, or roasted to enhance their flavor. They were like edible shapeshifters, able to transform into whatever the moment called for. The nutritional density of these tiny packages was impressive. Seeds packed healthy oils, protein, fiber, vitamins, and minerals in concentrated amounts. They also offered a possible additional benefit or dimension. If pirates settled on islands, they could plant seeds to cultivate fresh food. Seeds acted like edible safety nets, capable of transforming into future meals. Storage space was remarkably efficient. Seeds occupied little room but offered rich nutrition. Their light weight allowed ships to carry large amounts without slowing down. These 15 foods made up the core of pirate sustenance, each offering special benefits for life on the ocean. Which one are you most eager to eat? Share your pick in the comments. That kept pirates tough, dragging heavy ropes, scaling tall masts, and battling foes all needed muscle strength.